It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the entire world, indie heavy this week, with our good friend Drew. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing fantastic, Wes. Yeah, it's another beautiful Saturday, but let's talk about these beautiful books this week.
Well, there's one book that stood out for some of the wrong reasons. Detective Comics, Tom Taylor on here. Michael Yaden's doing probably the best work of his life as an artist, really establishing a little bit of a new identity. I think that really works for Batman much better than what he was doing with Tom King. And I was kind of digging this weird asthma story that was going on, but they finally end it this week, or they sort of end it. And it's the only character that it ever could have been the entire time. I guess they think that we were supposed to believe it was Scarlet, but it was obviously her mother the whole time. And I don't think that big reveal was the impact that they thought it was going to be. And then they compounded it by making it not make any sense. Somehow the daughter didn't know the mother was doing it, even though the daughter specifically in the story before this issue has mentioned, my mother's in bad shape right now, but she clearly would have known that she still looks like she's 30 years old.
100%. That is one of the many, many faults I have with this book. Yeah, this story ended with a loud, wet fart. I was laughing pretty hard during the burning building rescue specifically. And look, if a building is burning on the verge of collapse and people are trapped inside, you're not going to stop and have a long conversation inside said burning building. And all this investigating that Batman did into the employees and the name of the doctor is something Batman would have done in the first part of this series, in the very first issue. He's just now getting answers to this stuff. That's bullcrap. And in the end of this, my God, look, there's forgiving, and then there's being a gullible idiot by working with a villain. And yeah, like you said, Wes, quote unquote, not knowing what her mom was doing, total bullshit. What you see the level of access she had with this company. Bruce is the latter at the end of this issue. It's a head-slappingly stupid.
We get to this big moment where he's finally there with Joe Chill. Asma's claiming that she's like the vengeance of Martha Wayne. We've seen Bruce Wayne have to deal with these type of decisions for decades upon decades. He's never wavered, even doubted himself that maybe he should also murder or participate in the murder of Joe Chill at this point. And the fact that they act like he would have thought about it was absolutely ridiculous. This stuff has been covered ad nauseum.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought this up. I did want to talk about this, and it's BS. If Tom Taylor, his editor, or anyone else had actually read the Batman Bible written by Denny O'Neil, yes, the Bat Bible is real. You would realize that the trauma that created his obsession, Bruce's obsession, also generated in him the reverence for the most basic of values, the sacredness of human life. Boom, verbatim from the Bible. And nowhere does it say his mom or his mom's compassion. It's completely and fundamentally incorrect. Thank God the story's over. That's all I got to say. And like you said, I mean, Michael Janin, he's actually doing some great art, some of the best stuff of his career. But we're seeing this a lot lately. You know, great artists on terrible books, like whether it's Wonder Woman, Gunslinger Spawn, Absolute Superman, just another wasted artist doing great work.
Do you also get the Bat family there, and they're trying to shut down this like juvenile detention center, which whatever. But there's like this weird splash page where Robin is literally like sitting on top of a police officer, it looks like. Maybe it's supposed to be a guard, but it's got all these dudes in suits and one uniformed police officer, and he's standing on top of him like Shawn Michaels doing his pose and like smiling at the camera. And it felt just really strange and just like thrown in there for no reason.
That was a page specifically I had gone back and forwards on at least 10 times to see if I missed something, or because I'm looking at this, I'm like, I had to ask some friends, I'm like, these are cops that they're beating up, right? These aren't just like just random people wearing a uniform. These are actual cops they're taking down. And you said Damien, showing off on top of the cop he took down. I'm like, this is very not right. There's a lot. This is just one of the many things that's fundamentally flawed with this book. And another example of why Tom Taylor, he doesn't understand these characters. He's writing them the way he thinks they should be, and the way he thinks they should be are completely go against who they are in their nature, especially Damien here.
And then I think maybe the weirdest thing about the entire book was we find out about Elixir and who's behind asthma and all this stuff. And it was fucking Blade.
I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, is that Blade? That looks an awful lot like Blade.
It is Blade. It's gotta be.
Yeah, and of course they'll be like, no, it's not Blade. But of course he's a vampire who has a big, massive sword. But it's like, wait, what? No, no, this is very, very lazy. And like, look, if you want to write Blade, go over to Marvel. Go write Blade there. Don't try bringing Blade over here. It's not going to work.
Yeah, so that was pretty strange, but I was kind of digging that Detective Comics story, and I think by the end, the entire thing fell apart, which is disappointing because it was one of the better things in continuity-wise that Tom Taylor's probably ever done at DC.
Yeah, I mean, we were hoping, I was hoping for a big twist, a big grand finale to this story, but no, he just, like I said, he shat the bed and just went up being a massive wet fart and just like, oh, that was it?
So getting to the really good stuff, and it's very indie heavy this week, we got to start out with Redcoat number 11, Jeff Johns writing, Brian Hitch on art, the introduction really into Redcoat of the Northerner. This is a character that we've seen, I think, in Junkyard Joe. He's been talked about, hinted at. First big time we've seen him, and he is not what I thought he was. I thought he was just a Civil War soldier, but apparently there's a lot more to it than that. I kind of like the position that Redcoat is in, to where he's this specialized courier for the North and South. He hasn't taken sides. He doesn't really care as long as he gets paid. It does feel like it's in character. But this big reveal on the Northerner ended up being a lot more than I expected, and pretty damn exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Yeah, there's a lot of questions after reading this issue. Like, where did this guy come from? You know, how far in the future has he been? What different futures has he seen? Because he's carrying something, you know, a certain dollar bill that is a major cause for alarm. And I had fun with this issue and the mystery of this character, as well as with why Simon Pure is fundamental to the future of America. What? Yeah, yes, he is. Yeah, great story, great mystery, great dialogue. Great art. Yeah, I can't wait for the next chapters of this. They're great. Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch are creating a great mystery here, a great story, and I love this fun with American history. You know, it's absolutely a blast. Absolute recommend for Redcoat.
Definitely keep on the Ghost Machine bandwagon, because we do have Rook Exodus returning, hopefully right around the corner. But we're also going to recommend Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 8, Jason Aaron writing, Juan Ferreira on art. This is the best illustrated book of the week, bar none. What Juan Ferreira is doing is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best turtle art we've ever seen in the history of the series. That's how good it is. And this week, we get a lot of point of view perspective on Leonardo and his frustration, specifically with Donatello. But really, none of the brothers are getting along at this point. And there's a big confrontation between Donatello and Leonardo, basically precipitating one of them to leave by the end of it, which was a little bit unexpected. And then I'm kind of digging what they're doing with this Mayor Hale guy that's actually creating false flags against mutants around the town. I think this is actually building up quite nicely on the back of Juan Ferreira's amazing art.
This is one of the most beautiful books this week, right up there with Evan Cagle on New Gods. Absolutely gorgeous artwork here. But yeah, this issue is the breaking point for the brothers. I see it. You know, the three brothers confront Donatello about his mental status, as well as his dead rat he's carrying around, and around that he says he's talking to. But I mean, as we know, I mean, Donatello is more enlightened and compared with his brothers right now. And there's a great point in this where Donatello talks to Leo, but Leo about their leader about this, and apparently Leo has finally broken enough where he through what he's seeing and is getting back in touch spiritually. There's a great scene in that toward the end with Leo. It's like he realizes what he has to do, what he's got to get back in touch with. There's a great spiritual element here coming here at the forefront that I appreciate, and I hope we get to see more of in this. The boys need to stop, meditate, and listen. It's beautiful art and a fun and compelling story. Like you said, the villains in this, they come up with a great plan to take down the turtles, turn the city against them. Great cliffhanger. This is probably my pick of the week. It's a strong recommend for TMNT number 8.
Definitely a very, very good comic book. Love the art in that one. Definitely also going to recommend Flash Gordon number 8, Jeremy Adams writing, Tom Derenick on art as the fill-in for Will Conrad, who's the normal artist. The first issue that we haven't seen Ming in it, which I thought was pretty cool, but we do get his daughter in Flash Gordon reacting to the fact that he finds out that Dale is betrothed. She's engaged to this other lord on another planet. Turns out Ming's daughter and her husband have been invited to the royal wedding, or at least like a dinner in that honor. Decides to tag along, and he's looking for Dale. He actually finds her by the end, but it's not exactly what he was looking for. And I thought this was a lot of fun. And obviously, we also have the return of the robot trying to get back in the mix of things. This has been a wonderful series, and it's been so much fun to read. Great stuff this week.
Yeah, I love the revelation with the mad scientist, the doctor, how he's actually the robot. That was great fun. That's a great twist with him. But yeah, like you said, Flash meets up with Princess Aura, daughter of Ming, and everyone gets caught up with what's happened in the previous issues. And yeah, like you said, Flash discovered something life-changing about something he cares deeply about. But will he be excited to see Flash? You got to read to find out. Yeah, this is a fun read and a great jumping on point, too, because they do. Jeremy does a great job catching up the reader as to what's happened from Free Comic Book Day up to now. And so if you haven't read Flash yet, do check out Flash number 8. You're not going to be lost. You're going to get caught up to what's happened. Tom Derenick does a great, solid job with the art. Story is very fast-paced. Yeah, strong recommend for Flash Gordon.
And definitely recommend go checking out that interview I had with Jeremy Adams last week. That was a lot of fun, and you can see why Flash Gordon has been so can't miss as of late. Also going to recommend my pick of the week, Conan the Barbarian number 20, Jim Zub writing, Doug Braithwaite on art. We finally get a revelation of who this Zula is and what they represent, and the fact that Conan, since he was stabbed by the fangs of the serpent, has something nested inside of his body that might have to do with serpents. We get a really great page of Zula turning into a woman that was actually pretty sexy, then a freaking eagle turning all kinds of things, huge battle, and then an enormous revelation at the end that kind of brings us all back to the original starting point of this with Belit and that other artist that I didn't think really fit Conan, but I thought it was a good way to bring that back in there. And I thought Jim Zub upped it right back there for issue number 20 and got me right back in the game.
He came back swinging in this issue. I'm glad to see that. This is a strong back to pure form for Conan. Yeah, this is a beautifully illustrated book as well. I mean, the confrontation between Conan and Zula, the Animorph, they tell something to Conan that surely must not be true, right? But it leads to a great spiritual battle within Conan and a powerful adversary. Does he win? You got to read to find out. Yeah, I had a blast with this issue as well. I mean, and this and TMNT are my two favorites of the week. Because one of the main points, because of the spiritual conflicts within the protagonists. And I love it. It's absolutely gorgeous and it's well told. And I will say this is probably the best illustrated issue of Conan by Doug Braithwaite. He's only getting better. He's already a great artist, but I think his art in Conan is getting stronger. Yeah, this is a strong recommend for Conan.
Absolutely. It's a good time to be a Conan the Barbarian fan these days as Jim Zub has taken it to another level. But we've also got one Marvel comic book to recommend, Cable Love and Chrome, number 4, David Pepos writing, Mike Henderson on art. This has a lot of like Edge of Tomorrow to it. It's pretty wild to see Cable literally driven to the edge where he decides to break all the rules and try to keep going back in time to save this woman. And every time he goes back, he screws it up even more until we get this big revelation that I probably, as a comic book reader, should have seen coming, Drew. I did not see it at all where this was actually heading to, and it all made sense at the end. It's not over quite yet. I think we have another issue to go. But this was the strongest issue of Cable Love and Chrome thus far, in my opinion, and just a really, really great comic book.
Oh, man, we're on the same wavelengths with this issue. I absolutely love this book as well. In the end, like you said, I did not see that coming. It's a great cliffhanger. And, yeah, I've been – on the whole with the series, I've been really conflicted with it because there's been moments and issues I liked and others I didn't really like so much. But with that being said, this is the best issue of the series so far. And I love seeing the obsession of Cable trying to bring his love back again and again and again and again and always failing. And look, is it a time-traveling trope? 100% it is. But for Cable to have been in love with this woman and not thinking clearly about the repercussions of his actions, I can totally go with. I buy it. And surely none of this will come back to bite Cable in the butt, right? Right? You got to read to find out. Yeah, David Pepos, Mike Henderson have produced the best chapter yet of Cable Love and Chrome. And yeah, this is a strong recommend for Cable Love and Chrome. Do check this out, guys. It is a very, very fun read. And right now, probably the best of the X books.
Yeah, it's this or Weapon X-Men. Unfortunately, they're both miniseries at this point. They just can't get a good ongoing X-Men book to save their lives. But that is definitely the standout for Marvel this week. Over at DC Comics, we got another recommend. The New Gods from Ram V, writing, Evan Cagle on art. I still wish they would take out the Ram V weird artist thing that happens in the beginning of every book. I wish they would just remove that part. But once you get out of that, which is only about 6 pages this week, and you start getting into the war on Apocalypse, New Genesis type thing going on, and then transferring over between the Orion, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda confrontation, it really picks up, and I'm even starting to invest a little bit in this New Genesis war that's going on and these I think they're called the Nictari that have come in. They have now a backstory of why they're there and why they're targeting them, which I thought was great. But the standout stuff continues to be the Orion Mr. Miracle stuff. And they really took it up about 50 notches this week. I'm so bought into it. I wish we would get more than 5 or 6 pages an issue of that story because I think it's the real standout. But this is a very good issue.
I agree. The opening pages of this, I mean, I called them ocular diarrhea. I hated the art in those pages. But thankfully, after roughly 5 or 6 pages, the art gets back to being professionally made. And God, the pages with Light Ray and with Highfather and the villains, it is so badass. Evan Cagle nails the horror and the menace of this evil coming for the new gods. And they're left with 2 choices, convert or be conquered. On the cover, it's we didn't talk about the main cover of this. It's an absolute lie. The Justice League is nowhere in this issue except for Superman on the last page. But what will the heroes do? And will Mr. Miracle keep the child safe on Earth? You got to read to find out. Yeah, outside the amateurish first 5 or 6 pages, this is a damn good issue and could have been the best of the week worthy. But the fact with that, the first 5 pages are ocular diarrhea and the main cover is straight up lie. It's still a recommend, a strong recommend. But we know what it's capable of, Wes. We know what it can be. It's almost there.
Very, very close. And I thought the appearance of Superman was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
As a cliffhanger. It was dope. So
yeah.
I'm really excited about that one. I just wish he would cut out the extra stuff that he's giving you at the beginning with an extra artist. I don't think it's ever added anything to the series. Even when Riccardo Federici did it. And I love Riccardo Federici.
Yeah, me too. It's like you said, I'm like, what the hell's the point of this? And on top of that, you've got an amateur for this issue. You have the most amateur of amateurish art doing it. And like, no, this only makes it worse. But thankfully, Evan Cagle's there to save the day, and he kills it in this issue. Absolutely killed it.
Absolutely do appreciate Drew for joining me today to talk about the very best comic books of the entire week. If you would like to support the channel and our mission here on Think Critical YouTube and get some extra podcasts, there's a link in the video description to Think Critical Patreon. That is the place to be. Where you'll get the audio recordings of this, every other video there, but you also get about 36 extra hours of podcasts every single month on Think Critical Patreon. Hope to see you there very, very soon.